If you're just tuning in for the first time, I'm Jasper Cool here with my dad, Mark Cool. We're going to jump on here live for about the next hour or so. So if you guys are tuning in with us live, just drop your name, where you're tuning in from, and your questions anytime. Feel free to just drop anything, whether it's questions, comments, anything, and we'll be getting to those throughout the show. So usually we like to jump in, just going over our week in business, sharing wins and losses, just some deal stories usually. So you want to kick us off with that?
Yeah, definitely. I was just trying to pull up the feed here so I can look at the comments. We have them. Yeah, we had a pretty good week. I've been sharing the last couple of weeks. We've been in the process of turning the business around. We got into a really low spot and struggled for a little bit, and we're not completely out of it, but we're on the upward swing. And so part of that trend is our dispo has really turned around in the last few weeks. We got one of the people who's already on our team to start doing the text blasting for cash buyers. We're using Investor Base, but you can do it with other platforms too. But we thought we had been doing it before, but we weren't doing it before, according to the results we're having now, right? Like we're getting probably average of 15% response rate on the text blast we're sending out to buyers. Sometimes it's 20, sometimes it's 10, but and we're doing 2 rounds of that. We'll do a round and then we'll wait a couple of days and we'll do another round. And if we're not getting a lot of interest on the first round, but that's just led us to get a lot more quality buyers and have quality conversations and add people to our list. And we sold 3 this week, sold 3 deals this week,
Sweet.
which is great. Yeah. So
That's
I
amazing.
should have a bell, but I think I left it in the office out there because we did our
Yeah.
last one. Um, but yeah, so we sold 3 this week, and then it's just led us to get a lot more quality buyers. Sorry, I'm trying to pull that up so I can see the chat. Uh, yeah, I'll look at we sold 3 this week, but that's 5 in the last since August 15th, right? So 5 in the last 3 weeks, 3 in the past week.
Yeah, that's great.
So it's just a big turnaround for us because I've shared previously, we've had some droughts with sales and closings, and that's what's caused us to sort of go into panic mode for a little bit, let go of some key team members, revamp the way we're doing dispo and reassign some tasks within our business. And it's all paid off. And at the end of the day, now we have a monthly budget overhead that's now somewhere between $10 and $15,000 less than we were spending per month, which
Hmm.
means as we're recovering and rebounding, that's $10 or $15,000 a month in profit that we'll be able to realize.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful for that. It's like that thing that people say that you hate to hear when you're in a tough time, that things are happening for me, not to me.
Hmm.
This happened for me so I could see more clearly what needed to be done to really get us to where we need to go or where we want to go to hit the goals we
Yeah.
want to hit. Um, so I'm grateful in the end. But it was a tough slog there for, you know, a month or a month and a half ago. I was ready to close the doors and go do deals on my own. I was
Yeah.
just like, this is terrible. But yeah, so out of the 3 we sold one. I'm just looking at them in our Slack. One of these that's a vacant lot. Um, 3 vacant lots is what we sold this week. And then last week we sold the house. Uh, well, we sold that house with you, Jasper, and then we sold another house on our own. So
Hmm.
yeah, mixture of vacant lots and houses. And one of these lots was a difficult one too. So it was a really big win because there's a vacant lot in a good county for us in North Carolina, in Forsyth County, which is kind of a growing area. And and so we're like, cool, we've got an infill lot in a nice subdivision in Forsyth County, Winston-Salem, and then we ran into issues on it, right? We got it for a low price, and then we're like, oh, this is why we got it for a low price, because it has like a drainage thing that outlets in the back edge of it, and there's like a little bit of a ditch. But we were able to talk to the planners and figure out we could still build there, and you had to just have this setback from the drainage outlet and blah blah blah. And because of the text blasting that we're doing, we're able to talk to enough buyers until we found that one buyer who wanted to take that on. Because some of
Hmm.
our VLPs were like, no, I don't do stuff with a ditch. No, I don't want to work around that with the setbacks. But then this guy was like, yeah, I got it. I want to do this. It's a good area. And we had the price, we dropped the price after we figured out the issues on it. So, it was a win-win. So I'm grateful for that. And then, yeah, one of these other ones we had a lot of activity on. It was a vacant lot, and I knew we had it a little bit overpriced when it came in to dispo. I was like, this is going to be a little bit high after I looked at the comps. And that's the feedback we got from the buyers. But once again, when we're talking about dispo and text blasting and getting lots of buyer feedback. We had plenty of feedback from buyers to go for a price reduction. It's like,
Mhm.
well, the water and sewer are across the road, so it costs more to do the hookups and this and that. And these are our offers. And we had multiple offers. I think we sold this for 28, and we had multiple offers between 25 and 30. And
Right.
so we knew when we went back to the price reduction what we could get for it. And we knew we had at least two people who were going to pay around that 28 range, and we were able to get a price reduction. We think we got it down to 20. And so, we make 8 on it, and I think we had it originally at 25, 26, something like that. So it was great. That's another win. And then this, the third lot that we sold this week, it sold instantly. So maybe we underpriced it. I don't know. It was this guy wanted the other lot that I just mentioned, and he wanted to be first in line when we got the price reduction. So maybe he bought this other lot fast to be on the inside track list. I don't know.
Mhm.
But, I thought it was a crappy neighborhood when I looked at it, and there was trash around and a couple of mobile homes. And I was like, yeah, we're not going to get a whole lot for this. So I was the one who put the price on it. Um, so I think it's like a 7K profit at the full price offer that we got. So that's fine. It's a vacant lot in a not great neighborhood.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, that's kind of the roundup on that. And then we didn't have any closings this week. I think we have one. Jasper, you and I have one next week, right? For that house.
That's on the 17th.
17th. Okay, we have something on the 12th, I believe. And then 17th with you. Yeah, so we got a few coming up here in September, and then a couple in October already lined up. And then we have
Sweet.
2 that are currently low probability to close because of title issues, and then one where I think I shared this on another live, but the one of the sellers, it's a group of people, passed away after we went under contract with a buyer. So we're trying to go as fast as we can with filing the estate,
Oh,
and
yeah.
get that handled. Our closing attorney thinks it won't be too big of a deal, and it won't delay closing that much. So anyway, so yeah, no closings this week. We had like 51 leads. Most of that was SMS, a few direct mail, and 21 offers is what went out. So
That's
that's where
awesome.
we're at. Yeah. And Jasper, you and I were talking offline a little bit about SMS and deal machine lists. So I can just report back on that. We've done a bunch of lists with deal machine this past week, and this is our second week. And it looks like our highest response rate on SMS was about 9%, and our lowest was around 4. I think probably averaging 5 to 6% response rate for pretty good size lists, like 5,000 piece lists with
Mhm.
SMS that we got from Deal Machine. So that's the feedback on that. And
Nice.
I don't think I have any other major stuff. I mean, I could always tell more stories about buyers and sellers and stuff, but I could turn it over to you for your week in business, and then we can take any questions, or we can go back and talk about tools or trends or stories about. I could probably look up these contracts and try and remember how these went down.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing. That's
yeah,
great.
sure.
I'm glad you got 3 sales this week. That's huge. And
Yeah,
plus, you
just,
you technically sold like 5 in the last week if we're counting like your personal sales that were outside of business. So that's awesome.
yeah, sold 2 tiny houses this week too. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's good. You turned the corner and now you're cranking on the dispo. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it looks like we got someone joining here. We got Denzel from Detroit. So how's it going, Denzel? Thanks for
Nice.
joining in. Yeah, feel free to drop your questions anytime, Denzel, if you have any. And yeah, thanks for tuning in.
Yep. Welcome.
So yeah, we can switch over. I'll just echo what you finished off with the deal machine thing. I know we had James, talking about us or telling us to get on deal machine a few weeks back. So we both did, and we both tried it out. I haven't tried the list, I don't think, as much as you, but I did kind of retry one of the things that I did when I was first starting out. When I first deal machine, I think was the first app I ever downloaded, like for real estate. And I just was using it for driving for dollars back then. And they have this awesome feature where when you're driving for dollars, you can just tag a property, and then with one click of a button, you can just send them a postcard or a letter, whatever you set up the settings to be. And so I used to use that, and when I was starting out, I think I spent like $5,000 over, a span of a few months with those postcards, and I didn't get anything. And that was a huge, huge expense to me back then. So I was like, I'm cutting this off. Like I can't afford to keep spending $5,000 every few months. And
Yeah.
so I cut it off. But this time around, I was like, oh, well, this is pretty cool. And I have a few people, one person in particular that works with us, and he sends us a lot of leads, but he's been using Landglide. And so he sends it to us via Landglide. And then, I send it to my VA and he like formats the list and skip trace and all that stuff. And it's kind of a process to do that. And also for our friend that's sending us these leads, it's kind of a process for him too. He's got to manually tag them all, and then he's got to go home and export the list on his computer and email and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So while I was signing up for Deal Machine, I was like, hey, why don't we just give this another shot? And so I told him it's very easy on there. You can invite him to join your team, and then as soon as he adds a lead, it just shows up in the account, and I think he can see all the leads as well. And so
Is
yeah, we
it
just
tagged
tried that
by
out.
him? Is it connected to him when he pushes a lead like that?
Yeah, and so that's even better. It's super easy to track. It says very clearly his name is Jonathan. This lead was added by Jonathan. And then I can easily see that, if we get any deals from it. And yeah, it's just much easier. And so I sent him the app earlier this week, and just this weekend, he's got 3 or 4 dogs. And he went out walking yesterday and today, and he tagged like a bunch of properties. And so we have those, and then we have the ones that he sent me in the past. I imported all the old ones and put them in Deal Machine. And so now we have like 1,000 properties that we're sending mail to. So hopefully that'll lead to some deals, because I haven't tried direct mail literally since then, since like 2019. So, but you inspired me with your success with direct mail, and also this is a custom list, that most other people aren't going to have since it's driving for dollars. So I
Yeah.
figured, why not give it a shot? So yeah, we're trying that out. I'm excited about that.
So
But
he's just looking for leads for you while he's out driving or walking, and then you give him a referral fee or a commission if something closes.
yeah, exactly. And so it helps too that on Friday we close one of his leads. And so I think that's why he was incentivized to go out this weekend, get some more leads.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've closed 3 of his leads so far this year, which is awesome. And hopefully now we can close even more. So I'm excited to hopefully
You're
get some,
doing the same, your normal referral fee, just 3%.
yeah, 3% on anything.
Yeah,
So
nice.
yeah. Yeah, and he's always out and about. He's a mobile notary, and so he's always out and about. And so he'll send us, properties to and from appointments, or he'll take time and go walk his dogs and do it. So yeah, I think it's going to be, hopefully, I think it'll be a good source of leads from the deal machine thing. So yeah, I'm going to
Yeah,
keep it open just for
saves
that.
a lot of work for everybody.
Yeah, it saves a ton of work. Yeah, it's so easy, and they connect with Zapier too, so you can easily like connect them with different things too, which is pretty cool. So that's nice.
Yeah,
Uh,
so thanks, James, for turning us on to or telling us to look at Deal Machine again, because neither one of us probably would have done it
yeah,
without James
definitely,
here in
definitely
the
not.
live one day, and it was like, "Hey guys, check this out." So shout
Yeah.
out, James.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely shout out James, and I'll keep everyone posted on how that progresses. But I just set up a simple 3-step sequence. We're just going to send 3 postcards, and then I'll probably split test with a letter too, sending a letter and a postcard and see which one is better.
Do you
But
know what the cost per card is?
yeah, it's on the expensive side. I think it's 54 cents, I want to say.
That's
I
not
can,
bad. That's really not bad.
okay, I can double check it, but I
Yeah,
think it's 50 something cents.
I think
Uh,
we paid more than that for a postcard with with a REI print mail, but it was a custom postcard, but still it was like
oh
80 or
yeah.
90 cents, I think. So yeah, it's not bad.
Okay, cool. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
we're
going to check
just
it out
trying
for
with the,
myself, 'cause if it's a better rate than some of the
I
stuff we're
know.
doing with bigger mailer companies, why not do small batches like you're doing? Because it's the same. I think the same thing can work as your PropWare strategy, your neighborhood strategy, like to just be like, we closed the deal here, let's pull all this and send them a postcard, right?
Yeah,
So I think that's another way to go. I
yeah,
think especially snail mail can work with neighbors, because we found it with Dispo. It works really well with us with neighbors, snail mail. And so maybe with that strategy that you have, like the neighborhood list, that could work well too,
that's a
to
good
have
point.
snail mail in addition to text.
Yeah, that's a good point. I might have to start doing that this week. But yeah, they make it very easy. You can edit all the postcards there in the platform, and just change around all the wording and stuff like that. They have some good designs. So yeah, it's cool.
I'm making a note to myself to talk to acquisitions about doing a test around that this week.
Yeah. And you can set up like repeating campaigns too. So you can set it up to send every 30 days, for example, or you can just set it to be at intervals without repeating. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Their platform's great. I like their UI.
Yeah.
Seems
And I like the fact that I can just do it. Like I just did it within probably an hour or so. Like I didn't have to go and talk to someone and do a sales call and do all that BS. I was just able to set it
Yeah.
up. Like I was just able to like, okay, I want to set this up and I got it set up. Like I love, softwares that do that
Yeah.
because I think that's the whole point of software. So you can do it on your own. You don't have to.
Every 21st century company should be self-service unless you want personal service. Because
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I've had direct skip calling me. Like direct skip has been calling me, hey, let's jump on a call, book a session with me.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
why would I do that? I already have the discount code for the bulk tokens. Like, but
Yeah.
it's silly. Yeah, sure. Let me add another call, another meeting into my day. That's just what I need.
Right. Yeah, but anyways, I guess our point is that so far so good with deal machines. So anyone listening,
Sorry,
if
but
you
that was a
haven't,
total tangent.
yeah, but if you haven't tried it out, anyone listening, definitely try it out. But we got a question here from Denzel. So he says, just starting off here, when doing SMS marketing, do you recommend having a list of minimum 5,000? I have done one so far, first one 500 and second one 2,500. Yeah, I mean, the more the better with SMS. It's kind of like a shotgun approach as opposed to, doing like niche marketing like we were just talking about with direct mail. So I would definitely recommend doing as much as your budget allows, and that'll, definitely get you more leads. We've talked about it before. I think we have one episode if you want to go back and check it out. But on average, we're both seeing anywhere from like 6 to 12% return or response rate, I should say. And so what that means is that if you send out, like, let's just take the 8%. Let's say if you send out 100 texts, you're going to get 8 people that reply to you, and those are not leads, right? Those are just replies. And so you can kind of multiply that. But if you're sending out, thousands, then I don't know that math off the top of my head, but 10,000, for example, would be 80. And so then, you're getting a lot more replies to work with. And I would say, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but out of replies, it's probably an additional like 10%, that are actually interested leads. So I would say if you get 80 replies, you might get like 8 leads out of that batch, if that makes sense. So
And that's
yeah,
10,000. You're saying that's for 10,000
yeah,
SMS. Yeah.
yeah. Using our response rate, 6 to 12%, you might, if you're just starting out, you might have a higher response rate. Sometimes if you're doing fresh data or you're just starting out on a platform, you can definitely get higher than 6 to 12. But I would say somewhere in that range is probably what you should expect. So yeah, the short answer, yes, I would definitely recommend sending out 5,000 or more texts.
The other thing to think about, Denzel, is the law of large numbers, because there is a weird thing where what Jasper said, over time, it's going to even out to that. But if sometimes it's at the front end or the tail end of a campaign or a chunk of data, right? So you could send 1,000 and get zero. You could send 5,000 and get the results that he's saying, but you could send 5,000 and still be low. But then your
Mhm.
second 5,000 could be like 100 leads or 100 responses, right? So it doesn't always, it's not like every 1,000 I send, I'm going to get 8% and I'm going to get
Yeah.
it's going to go up and down, but the bigger the number you do, the more it evens out, and you'll have an even trackable response rate, lead rate, all that stuff. So you have to factor that in a little bit. Don't get discouraged in the early stages if you're not getting results. Keep going.
Yeah, definitely. Great advice. And Denzel, I'm curious which platform you're using for SMS. I use Launch Control. My dad uses Smarter Contact, but there's other options out there. Just curious which one you're using. But yeah, I guess I'll jump into my weekend business real quick, and then we can get to any more questions. Feel free to drop them. Um, oh, you said thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for tuning in. But yeah, if you are using launch control, I was just going to share that you can do follow-up campaigns too, so that can boost up your numbers without any additional spend. And so you
Right.
can just send follow-ups every 30 days to people that didn't reply. Oh, he's using Smarter Contact. Okay, so maybe you can help him out with some tips real quick.
Yes, I mean, smarter contact. The one thing we like about that is if people do try and call the number, it comes right into you, and you can pick it up within smarter contact. So you can capture people who are in a buying mood, but they don't have the drips the way that launch control has. Launch control has better drips than smarter contact. But everything else is pretty much the same. They call the quick replies in launch control, they call them macros, but you can have all your quick replies in there. So as you're going through, you're gonna see people saying the same things over and over. Like, who is this? What's your offer? Blah blah blah. You're gonna have like a bunch of stuff that you're gonna see repeatedly. So you can just have a macro response for that. So you can just click on your thing, and that response drops right in. So you're not responding individually to each text. And then yeah, we have a Zap that pushes our leads to our CRM, to Podio. So you have to, once you have the Zap set up and you have a lead that's interested, then you can push that to your CRM with one click, and then that's where we have our follow-up sequences set up, or is in our CRM. But anyway, I guess the only other thing I would say is don't go crazy with smarter contact. Those reps are always going to try and get you to the next tier, next tier, next tier. It's not that important. I've done the math on it. You can be on a lower tier and then you just pay per overage. Like you'll pay a per text fee for every text that you send that's over your plan limit. But when you do the math back and forth, like, oh, if I upgraded and I spent 1,100 or 1,400 or whatever, and then I get this many free, when you do the math of what the overage charge is, it's pretty even for the most part. You're not saving that much money. So if you're starting out, stay on a lower tier and then budget your overage and just be like, I've got this much and I'll budget my overage and this is what I'm going to pay, rather than letting them go, well, if you really want results, go to the higher tier. That's what I would suggest.
Yeah.
And then also back to Deal Machine, like we've talked last week, but you can get basically 60K free skips on Deal Machine right now with $100 plan or $150 plan. And so same thing with PropWare. I think they're giving now 10,000 free skips for $99. So that's cheaper than any skips you're going to get anywhere else if you're starting out. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, great advice. So let us know if you have any questions, Denzel, but that was great advice. So yeah, awesome. Well, yeah, I'll go over my week in business real quick and then we'll just jump in any questions as they come in. So numbers for this week, we got 5 contracts. We sold 4 properties and we closed 3 deals this week. So yeah,
that's a great week.
Great start to the month. Yeah. So yeah, our new team member is crushing it. He got 3 out of those 5 contracts, so we're really happy with that.
Nice.
I mean, yeah, he's just killing it. And
so awesome.
Yeah, so I'm really fortunate to have him on our team, and I'm just really grateful. So I'm excited to see how our month will turn out now that he's, this is his first full month of being on the team, and also this is his going into his 4th week, and so now he's pretty much done with training and everything. He's still doing some more training for the next 2 to 3 weeks, I think, with Matt's team, but pretty much he's got a handle on everything now. So I think that's why we're seeing more contracts coming in. So I'm excited to see what comes next week. But yeah, he's just crushing it. He's great to work with, and I'm just happy to have him on the team. So it's really awesome. And it's like you shared earlier, it's like getting rid of one of our other team members just kind of made room for a great team member. So I'm really grateful for that. So yeah, I just wish I did it sooner.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a common theme, right, for both of us.
Yeah.
Is every time we let somebody go, it's like, oh, I should have done it sooner.
Yeah.
I was even talking to, I instituted monthly check-ins with my team members because we're doing annual reviews and then we have some meetings and stuff, but I wanted to focus monthly check-in with each team member. And that was one of the things, like I was asking for feedback on my leadership. And, it's one of the things is like, maybe we should have let a couple of these people go earlier.
Right. Yeah.
And they apologized to me because I was like, you guys knew this stuff and you didn't tell me, if you please speak up, because it makes such a difference with the energy of the business. But that's huge. So you had 5 contracts, 4 sold and 3 closed.
Yeah.
Man, that's a great week.
Yeah, it was a great week. And we also got 3 5-star reviews. So that was awesome.
That's huge. Yeah.
But
200.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of those sold, I guess I can't really count because my realtor kind of sold that one. That was the one that I listed on the market. And so I did want to give an update on that because that was a total fail. So I won't be doing that again, at least with that specific property. I'm sure I'll, try it again in the near future, but I just won't do that again with that property. I think my mistake there, just sharing for anyone listening right now, the market's obviously declining in pretty much every market in the United States. It's kind of a buyer's market now, kind of a down market in general. And I think the one way you can avoid that is, well, 2 ways I think you can avoid that. Number one is if your property is completely remodeled, like a really nice product. I'm seeing, some of my friends who are flippers that put out nice products. Their flips are going under contract, just like they were 3 years ago. 1, 2, 3 days on market, they're under contract over asking price. So if you put out a good product, they're still selling like hotcakes. So that's encouraging. If you're a flipper, just focus on your finishes, put in high quality finishes, do high quality like countertops, flooring, whatever, and make your product look really good and they'll sell. So that's encouraging on that side. But for me, I don't really want to be a flipper. And so I don't really want to do that right now. But my second piece is that I think the properties that are not flipped, that are under or over a certain price point, are not going to really sell like they used to. So I think if you're, regardless of what market you're in, you should focus on the median house price and below. Do not go above that, because I don't think there's as many buyers for those properties anymore. And so I think that was my mistake with this one, where, I got a good deal on this property, but I listed it above 300,000. And in Fayetteville, that's kind of like a luxury type property. They
Mhm.
do have properties in Fayetteville that are 5, 6, 700,000, but they're very few, far between. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
the median, if I was to guess in Fayetteville, is probably 160, 175, somewhere around there. And so I'm over here listing at 300, and it's a nice property, 2014, big property, but I was listing over the median home price, and I just think there's a lot less buyers for that product. And so we ended up dropping the price and got it sold this week. And it's just sold; it's not closed yet. But I think that's what did it, was dropping the price below 300, and then we got a bunch more traction. So yeah, I would just recommend that. And then maybe, for this market in particular, maybe wholesales are not as good of a strategy as they used to be, unless you're doing that and getting them under that median home price so that you have a bigger pool of buyers. So that's just what I wanted to share. But overall, I
That's
wish I
great
wish
insight. That's great insight. It's a similar thing to being too far out in the country, right? If you're too far from the center of town, it's going to move slower. And I think what you're saying about being too high above the median, it's going to slow things down, right? So
yeah.
those are to watch out for.
Yeah, and this one was on a main road too. It's like on a double yellow,
Mm.
so probably another thing against it.
Yeah,
I
not good.
got, yeah, I got excited because it was a 2014 build, like a clean property, but I didn't, I kind of looked past some of the downsides of it. So next time
Yeah,
I'll just be more careful. Um, but yeah, just wanted to share that with everyone. So I'll share the numbers once we do close. Hopefully we can close later this month, but it definitely was not, was not a worthwhile thing to do for me. So it's okay. Live
what
and
is
learn.
it going to be? Is it going to be less than if you wholesaled it, or the same, or
Just
where?
marginally better, so it doesn't make up for, it's pretty much the amount that I spent is the amount more that I'm gonna make pretty much. So it's like maybe 5,000 more that I would make on this deal. So,
Wait, you're making 5,000 more than you would make on a wholesale?
yeah. So it's
Well,
just
that's good.
just a total fail. Yeah.
It's not a huge like home run grand slam, but it's more profit by 5K. That's good.
Yeah, but I would have rather taken that profit 30 days ago and already been done with it. And now it's like there's no guarantee this thing closes. They're gonna ask for concessions, they're gonna ask for all this other stuff. So it's like
Yeah,
yeah. So I would have already had that in my bank and moved on. So yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
The
I'm
velocity.
considering just going full-time wholesaling anyways, and just stopping trying to do those anyways. I think it might be better for me. Just stay focused.
It's like a shiny object thing. You keep seeing it,
Yeah.
being, oh man, I could make 30, 40, 50 on this, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think in the
The thing
business
is,
we're about, it's just the opposite business. It's all about velocity and turning deals as fast as you can. So
as long as you're breaking even with what you do wholesaling or making a little bit extra, it doesn't hurt to take a swing once in a while, right? If it's not slowing you down too much,
yeah.
because one of these is going to pop for you.
Yeah. I think I'll wait till the market improves a little bit before I do it again, but we'll see. But yeah, I guess I could share a deal story from one of these that we closed. I don't know which one we should share because these were all kind of interesting deals. But I guess I'll share this one. So we
And we
have
got
this
time
one.
if you want to do a couple. I didn't close any this week, so you can go for it.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess I can do a couple, and then anyone, if you're here with us live, just drop your questions anytime. We'll be happy to
Yeah.
to discuss with you guys. So
And
I'll just share a deal story.
where you're listening from too. We got a few people in there, so if you want to drop your name and where you're at,
Yeah,
what market
definitely.
you're in.
Definitely. So, yeah, I'll just share a deal story real quick from this one, and then I can share another one if people want me to. So this one came in from PPC, so I was really happy that we were able to close it.
Man, you guys are crushing it with
Um,
PPC now.
what's that?
You're crushing it with PPC now. You're getting a lot of PPC deals. It seems like.
Knock on wood. Yeah, this quarter
Yeah.
has been really good for us. So, yeah, the first 2 quarters of this year were, totally not, but this third quarter is doing really well. So hopefully fourth quarter will be the same. But yeah, so this one came in from PPC, came in on August 23rd, and then we got it under contract, I think within one day. Yeah, we got under contract within one day. And then this was the one I shared before where
That's awesome.
yeah, that is awesome. But this is one I shared before where we got under contract and then we go to the property, find out the whole entire roof is missing. So I was not,
Oh,
I was not accounting
yeah.
for that one. I was not accounting for that. And so, anyways, we still marketed out. I was considering again just like going in for the price reduction right off the bat, but I was like, no, some buyer might want this. And so we marketed it out and we were under contract for 30 and I was just pushing it for 35, like just trying to see if we can get in a solid offer and then see if we could possibly get a price reduction. So anyways, we had some offers come in. I shared this on a past episode. I won't go too deep into it, but we had one buyer basically who gave us, I think he was at 33. And so, super close and we would have been able to make a small profit or possibly renegotiate, get a little bit bigger profit. Either way, he never answered the phone. And so I followed up with him all week long. I was emailing, texting, calling, just didn't answer the phone. And I was just like very confused by that, but like, whatever, push this guy to the side. And so then my second best offer was at 25. And so he was actually at 20, but I ended up working him up to 25. But anyway, so he was at 25 and he was like, I'm solid at 25, but like, I'm not going any higher. I was like, okay. And so we went back, tried to renegotiate. And bear in mind, all of our other offers, besides this one fake buyer and this 25K guy, were literally at $5,000 to $10,000 for this property. So
Yeah.
way, way below. So we just got lucky and found this one buyer. Again, someone I've never worked with before, someone I found on Investor Base. So for anyone listening, definitely, work Investor Base and it works. You'll find new buyers that you've never talked to before. And they'll pay a lot more. In this case, let's say, for example, in this case, I had a deal under contract for 5K, right? And I accepted a 10K offer. I make 5K, that's a nice deal. But if I would have worked Investor Base and I had it at 5K, for example, I would have made 20,000 as opposed to 5K, so that's the value of working on Investor Base and building that list. So just wanted to share that for anyone, but it's well worth it. The tool is $250 a month, but it's well worth it. If you just find, for example, just one buyer who's going to pay 10,000 extra on a deal, that pays for like the whole year. So
Yeah.
but yeah, so we pretty much like locked this guy in. I didn't sign a contract with him yet because I didn't want to like just in case they didn't accept. But I was like, okay, we'll get back to you like within a day or so. And so we went back to the seller and tried to get a price reduction, and they were really staying firm because again, we were at 30 with them initially, and so we had to get them down below 25. And so I think we went in initially at like 16 or something. We ended up agreeing to 19. And so then there was another little hiccup there because we ended up agreeing to 19. But because we came up, we've talked about this before on negotiating and stuff like that. Because we came up, we were like, if we can come up to 19, can we get this signed today? Right? That's, kind of the thing that we gave them. And they're like, yeah, we'll get this signed today. And this was on a Friday. So we send over the amendment of contract. They don't sign it. And so like, oh man. And so like, we don't want to be like liars, so we voided the contract. We don't want to act like, we're just going to leave the offer out there forever. So we just voided the contract and I was like, man, this might not work out for us. And then they reached back out the following Monday. And they're like, hey, I saw you voided the contract. Like, what's going on? And so our rep, her name is Anna. She was telling, she was like, listen, this offer was only good until this amount, like until this date. It was clearly written in the contract and all that stuff. She was like, I might be able to convince them to extend it to one more day, but I really need to get this signed today. So, anyways,
That's
long
great
story
work
short,
right there. That's really
yeah,
great work. Yeah.
yeah. And so long story short, they signed it on that Monday. But we did kind of risk it there. We voided the contract and we were like, maybe we don't close this deal. But they came back to us. And so I want to share that for anyone listening because we call it in our team, we call it the boomerang approach. But a lot of times when you throw it away, when you like pull away from the seller, you're like, okay, maybe it's not going to work out. They'll come back. Almost every time they'll come back. And
It's
so
we're not your buyer. Yeah. Like, hey, I might not be your buyer.
yeah.
Maybe it's not right. Yeah.
Yeah, it works. So I mean, if you're listening and you're in negotiation with seller, just try that. Especially if you're in negotiations and they might be shopping your offer, like you guys are close on price, but they're not committing. Instead of chasing them like, hey, can we get this done? Just be like, hey, I'm looking at another property. It might be a better fit for me. You're gonna have to take away my offer, but just keep my number. We can revisit this in the future. I bet you they'll call you back within the next day. They'll call you right back. It works really well.
Another
So
variation is, our company only does so many properties per month, and we'd really love yours to be one of the properties, but we've got a few other, and like say we could only close 5 properties a month and we've already done 4. So we're just looking for our final property of the month.
yeah,
We'd love it to be yours, but we're talking to 3 other sellers, and that kind of thing. It creates FOMO.
yeah.
Right? Same thing you're saying.
No,
Just
same
different.
thing. Yeah. No, that's great. And another one we've just started implementing because we have like a weekly contract bonus. So our team is really trying to get as many as we can each week. We did away with the monthly contract bonus, but now our team, it wasn't me, but they came up with this one where it's like, hey, my partner can really only commit to add 1 property to the portfolio this week. And I really want it to be yours. But I'm looking at, whatever number they want to say. I'm looking at 10 properties this week. So, I really can't guarantee that we're going to be able to commit to you if we can't get this done today. So we've kind of been using that. And it kind of makes them feel special because they're like, hey, we can only commit to one, but I want it to be your property. So, what can we do to get this thing done this week? And that's been
Yeah.
working well for us.
That's like Matt Larson does that. Like, well, my boss doesn't know how everything about your property that I know because you and I have been talking, and I know your property is great, but I need to convince him, or just using that kind of dynamic
Yeah,
too.
yeah, definitely. So yeah, real quick, Denzo had a question, then I'll finish this deal story. So he said, apologies for the newbie question. No problem. You can ask any question anytime. But he
Yeah,
said, what indicators do you mainly look at to conclude it's a buyer or seller market? So what I look at is active versus pending listings. So when the pending listings are going up in ratio to active listings, then it's more of a seller's market, or yeah, more of a seller's market. And then when they're going down in relation to the active listings, it's more of a buyer's market. So what that means is like, for example, you have 100, or let's say you have 1,000 properties listed on the market and 100 of them are pending. If you track that market over the next 4 weeks, for example, and the listings stay the same and the pendings are going up, that means it's a seller's market. More properties are going under contract every week. But let's say the pendings are staying roughly the same and the listings are going up. That means the listings are stagnating and they're just sitting there and they're not selling. So that's more of a buyer's market. So that's a very simple way that you can do it. You can also look at tools like on Zillow. There's a tool called Housing Alerts you can check out, but that's a paid tool. But that's just a very simple way to look at it. And you can also do another calculation where you find out like the average amounts, or sorry, the months of inventory that you have on your market. So for example, if you look at a certain city and there were 10 properties sold within the last 5 months, then that means on average 2 properties sell per month, right? So then if you look on the market and you have 20 properties for sale in that specific city, then that means you have 10 months of inventory, right? So then you can kind of look at that and see how many months of inventory. The more months of inventory, kind of the colder your market is, or more of a buyer's market. So yeah. But what do you have to
yeah.
say on?
Well, I was going to say you can probably use ChatGPT also and just say, this zip code, what's the market like, and they'll probably do
Yeah.
that work for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, that's true.
AI is brilliant, but like, what's the market like in this zip code or that zip code, or is it a buyer's or a seller's market? And they probably give you data to back it up and the whole thing, because there are
Yeah.
tools in our sites and stuff, and you can go to boardofrealtors.com or whatever. There's a lot of different sites that you can go to. Realtor.com has stuff. A lot of sites have stats. Or you could probably just ask AI and just be like,
Yeah.
I'm in this market. Is it a buyer's or a seller's market right now? What are the current trends? What are the trends over the last 6 months? You probably get the information that you want.
Yeah. Definitely use ChatGPT for any questions like that for more data and stuff behind it. But yeah, I have one of my VAs does that for me every week in all the counties we work in. He tracks the active versus pending listings. And it's cool to look at. Like this year, we were kind of like beginning of the year, we were going gradually up. And then in the spring, we were like in terms of a hot market, it was getting hotter and hotter and hotter. And then it really took a huge dip around April, May. And now it's going down every single week. So it's very interesting to look at that. So it's becoming, what I mean by that, it's becoming more of a buyer's market every single week. So that's interesting to look at. But yeah, great question, and thank you for dropping your questions, Denzel. So yeah, I'll just finish this up real quick. But basically, yeah, we got the price reduction signed after doing the pull away approach with that seller. Got it signed on Monday, and then we sold it to the buyer, and then we ended up closing within like 10 days or something, pretty quick. And but we had another hiccup right before closing, so that's why I wanted to share this deal story. So we were scheduled to close on the 5th, which is this past Friday, and we're hoping to close a little bit early actually because the buyer was cash and he was ready to go. It's fairly inexpensive property. And so we were just waiting on the title search, and then obviously we had the Labor Day holiday, so we probably weren't going to close early. But the sellers were scheduled to sign on Thursday. Everything was looking good. We're going to close on Friday. And then Thursday morning, I wake up and probably shouldn't do this, but I check my email first thing, and I get an email. It came in like 4 in the morning, and I get an email just forwarded from the closing attorney, and it's a seller, and he's like, "Hey, we're not going to close today. Please cancel the appointment." And I was like, "Oh my gosh."
Oh,
And so, my mind immediately goes to the worst, like, oh, one of my buyers reached out, he probably signed with someone else, all that stuff, right? And so I just assumed the worst, basically. And I got up and I called him immediately because I was just trying to figure out what's going on. He didn't answer, so I was calling him back to back and stuff. And I get through to him, and he was like, it was totally not what I was expecting. So he was like, "Hey, I pulled a permit on this property, And the county told me that I can't sell within 12 months because I pulled a permit, or else, I'm going to be liable or something. And he was like, I just don't want to, I don't have the money to, fight a court case or something. And I was like, oh, well, if that's the case, that's not an issue to resolve at all. First of all, it's not true. And second of all, it's totally easy to have them sign like a lien waiver or something. And so I was like, thank God, when he said that, I was like so happy because I was assuming he was just trying to back out on us or something. But no,
Yeah,
he was actually nervous and he had a legitimate reason. And so I just told him, I was like, no, it's not the case in North Carolina. If there's an open permit, the buyer has assumed responsibility for it. Like they literally can't do that. They can't tell you can't sell your own property. Like that's just ridiculous. And so, anyways, I told him that on the phone. And he was like so happy because he was like, man, I could really use this money. Like I really wanted to close today, but like I can't deal with the liability. And I was like, no problem. I totally understand. But anyway, so he went to the county himself because I was like, hey, could you just send me a copy of the agreement or whatever where it says that? Because I've never heard that before. And he was like, yeah, I'll try to get that for you. And so he went to the county, and I guess he spoke to someone at the county on a different day that was like really mean to him for some reason. He went to the county on this day, and they were like, yeah, that's totally not true. And you can close, you can do whatever you want. And so
oh, wow.
we ended up closing the deal, but he was like freaking out. And so I had to calm him down. And like, I was like, dude, that's totally not true. But I was talking to my attorney. South Carolina does have a rule like that. North Carolina doesn't, but South Carolina does. Like if you pull a permit, they can require you to not sell for 12 months, which is insane.
That's stupid. Yeah. South
Yeah,
Carolina sounds like a bad place to be a real estate investor.
yeah,
They hate wholesalers, and then they're doing stuff like that too.
definitely. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, to the seller's credit, he literally went there in person to the county office, spoke to them again, and he was like, okay, I'm good to go now. I just heard it directly from them. And so they rescheduled the mobile notary, they signed, and we closed on Friday. So it was awesome, but it was not without a bunch of kind of twists and turns on this deal. So we ended up getting it closed overall. And we made a nice little profit, and it adds to our PPC return on ad spend. So that's great.
Yeah, that's
But
great. Awesome.
yeah,
Good job.
yeah. So that was that deal story. And they left us a 5-star on top of all that. So it was awesome.
They left a 5-star review. Is that what you said?
Yeah, the sellers did. Yeah, so that was great.
Uh-huh.
So thank you.
I don't
But
know.
yeah,
Got the little emojis.
yeah. So that was that, and then I had a bunch of um, challenges and stuff this week too. But I don't know. I don't know what we should go into next. What do you think?
I don't know. Denzel's here. You got anything else, Denzel, before we jump on another topic? We're wide open. I was going to ask you if you knew anything about HB 797, but you said you hadn't looked into that. I haven't looked into it either to see what's going on with that. I know the last we heard was being changed, but I haven't looked into the current. I thought I set myself up for alerts on that. HB 797 is a bill in North Carolina to try and restrict wholesaling or shut it down, however you look at it. But I went on the site for the legislature and said I wanted to get alerts from anything changing, and I haven't gotten any alerts. So I don't know
Yeah,
what's
me
up with
either.
that.
Yeah. You know what's interesting though? I was doing my realtor course. Thanks for reminding me. I've been doing my realtor course, studying and stuff, taking practice tests this morning, and I saw something that was very interesting that I want to share with you. They asked me a question and they were like, what can the NC Real Estate Commission, what can they do to enforce like rules and stuff on licensees? And so I chose an option that said censure, fining, or revocation of license. That was one of the answers, and that's the one I chose, and it was incorrect. They can't fine licensees. So I thought that was very interesting because we were talking about it before, maybe on or off air, but we were like, how are they actually going to enforce this law, right? How are they actually going to ban people from wholesaling? And I thought that was very interesting that they can't find licensees. And so if they can't find licensees, they definitely can't find non-licensees, right? And so like, that's what I was thinking, but I don't know. So
Yeah, the bill says something about enforcement, like doing whatever they need to do to enforce it. So it was pretty wide open with what they can do.
yeah.
I didn't think that in the bill, so hopefully that's changing. But yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, I just thought that was interesting. I was like, the correct answer was that they can censure, suspend, or revoke your license. And so they can do that, right? But it said that they can't fine you. So I thought that was very interesting. But anyways, we'll get back to Denzel's question. So he said, how long do you spend marketing to a list? So for me, I use launch control, so it's slightly different than smarter contacts, but basically they recycle your list for you. So you can just go in there every 30 days and you can create what's called a follow-up campaign. What that means is it just sends a text to everyone who didn't respond the first time around or the second time around or third time, whatever. And so we just do that on repeat every single month. We send a follow-up campaign to all the old lists that we were marketing to. So the answer for me, the short answer is we never stop marketing to them. The response rate does go down every time. It goes down slightly every time you create a new follow campaign. But I think you guys do what, like 3 or 4 times to a list or something.
Yeah, we have a parameter that once the list response rate gets below 4%, we stop marketing to that list. So it can be twice, can be 3 or 4 times, but we don't want to waste our time when the response rate gets too low. But we do take those unrespondeds and we put them, into our you just put them in drip campaigns. So, but we won't keep sending that same list. I don't know if that makes sense, but in Smarter Contact, you get they do a similar thing, Jasper. They give you the unresponded list, so you can mark it. You can re-upload mark it to that list,
Yeah.
which we do. But then when we drop below 4% response rate, then we just put them in just drips. Automated drips sequence for anybody who's unresponded, rather than keep trying to hit those same people. Because, after a certain point, that list might just be old. Some of those numbers might be dead. Those people have moved, changed numbers, whatever. So I don't want to keep chasing them around until we get down to 2% or something. It's just a waste of effort, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So yeah, Denzel, that's good advice to just look at your response rate, and once it dips below 4 or 5%, then maybe put that list away. But he said he created something like a drip campaign on Smart Contact, but just curious, how long should I keep following up with a contact if no response occurs? Yeah, I mean, for me, like I said, we follow up until they respond, or yeah, pretty much until they
Or
respond.
until they say, take me off your list.
Yeah. But we also have, so Launch Control has two variations of this. One is the follow campaign that I just talked about. And then they also have the drip campaigns, which I think Smarter Contact has too. But basically what that means is that if someone does respond, for example, and they say no, our standard is just to follow up in 3 months. But if they show any signs of interest, we're going to follow up less than 3 months. So anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks in that case. And if they're really not interested, like if they say like no in all caps or something like that, we'll follow up in 6 months. But if they do say take me off the list, we just take them off the list. So we don't mess with those people. But based on their response is kind of how we would set up the drip sequence, if that makes sense. So if they're interested, we'll do less than a month. If they're, not really interested, we'll do like 1 to 3 months usually. And then if they're really mad or something, we'll do 6 months. We're trying to bother them too much.
Yeah, we do a similar thing.
Yeah. So yeah, great question, Denzel. Just let us know if you have any other questions. Um, but yeah, otherwise, do you have any tools that you want to share?
Well, I talked to you offline about Geek Pay, which is not really going to be for everybody. But if you're doing land deals and you're doing owner financing on land deals. So far, so good with this tool. It's called Geek Pay. It's created by land geeks who are, they teach about land investing,
Hmm.
and it's just a platform for managing your owner finance loans. So you can go in there and you can put, the principal balance, the interest rate you're charging, and you can put in monthly fees, which is really nice because we charge a $14 servicing fee, which is a holdover from our old platform where it was somewhere around there, but that's what we charge to cover our costs for the platform. And then you can, if you're like, we have a couple of houses that we have owner financing on, and so I can put in the homeowner's insurance there. I can put in the taxes so that they're going to break out the principal and interest, taxes and insurance, service fees, all that stuff. You can put in transaction fees if you're getting charged transaction fees. So it's pretty cool. And what I like about it is that now I have a dashboard and I can just go on my dashboard and it shows me all my loans, and I can click on the loans and see the status of the loan, if payments are due, if payments have been made, what their arrears are, what their late fees are. And my clients, my buyers, can also have a similar dashboard where they can go on, see the status of their loan, make payments, make changes to their contact information, contact us through the platform. There's a lot of stuff. And it will also send reminders to people when they're behind, stuff like that, automate those. So we were on QuickBooks and we had all of our owner finance loans in QuickBooks. And, you know, I hate to say I hate it, but I hate QuickBooks. and it's clunky, it's cumbersome. There's a lot of manual stuff you have to do to get things right, and then they glitch once in a while. So I think this is just a simpler, easier, more user friendly platform for managing owner finance deals, and it's good for our side for the back end and also for the user, for the person who's paying monthly on a piece of property. So far so good. It's early days, but I just this past week uploaded or onboarded all 9 of our owner finance deals onto that platform, and their support's been good too. Like when I've had questions, they've responded to me within 24 hours and been helpful. So
Yeah,
anyway, if you got finance deals, I would recommend checking it out. It's $49 a month for the platform. So, for example, I have 9 loans, and I don't know what my transaction fees are going to be. I know I have a document where they give me my transaction fees, but if I have 9 loans and I'm charging $14 service charge, I'm making whatever I'm making 120 something dollars on service charges, and I'm paying 49 and maybe some transaction fees. I think I'm in a good place. So
yeah.
yeah, so that's the one tool I've been looking at. And then we talked about CRMs last week. So I'm going to onboard with either Resimply or the Orata Vantage CRM, which is a Podio based CRM that I like. And I've met with both companies and reviewed their products, and I'm going to make a final decision and onboard this week. So I'll let everybody know about that. And if you have any feedback on either of those, love to hear it. You got any tools, Jasper, for this week? We talked about Deal Machine and Investor Base.
Yeah, Deal Machine has been really good so far, so I'll continue to update people. Hopefully, we'll get some leads coming in within the next few weeks. I scheduled a lot of mail to start last week, so I'm assuming that takes a week or two to actually hit people.
Yeah,
But yeah, hopefully later this month I'll have some leads and hopefully even some deals from that. So I'll keep people updated on that. And then yeah, Investor Base continues to be a great tool for us, and ChatGPT obviously. And then otherwise, the tool that we probably use daily also is Easy Text, but I've talked about that before. But if you are doing dispo of multiple properties, on a weekly basis, I would recommend signing up for that. If you're just getting started, it's not necessary. But there is another app too, actually, while I'm thinking about it. I don't know if I could find it real quick, but there's an app that you can just download on your phone, and you can basically do the same thing just on a smaller scale. And it's pretty affordable. I might have to find it after this though. But I think it's called Group Reach or something like that. But anyways, you can download it on your phone, and it's just called Reach. I found it. So if you check that out on your phone, you can download that, and you can schedule small bulk text messages to buyers, for example. So if you're just getting started and your buyer list is only like 20, 30, 40, 50 people, I would recommend trying that app Reach. You can do it directly from your phone, so you don't need any alternative platform, and you can send a group text to like I said, 20, 30, 40 people at a time. So yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
How about inspiration and education? Any books or podcasts this week for you that really hit you, or that you had good stuff, good takeaways from?
Yeah, actually, I found a podcast from one of my first mentors ever called named Cody Hoffheim, and I don't know the name of his podcast. I think it's just called Cody Hoffheim or something. But he just started that, and I listened to all of his episodes. It was really good. So yeah, I'd recommend that for anyone. He's just I think
What's
he's
his?
focused more now on business coaching and just like coaching in general, just improving yourself. And so I really enjoyed that podcast. So maybe we could drop that in the show notes or something. But
What's his? How do you spell his last name?
his last name is Hoffheim, so Hofhine, Hoffheim.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, his podcast was really good. He had an episode on hiring that I had a lot of takeaways from that was really good. And then a bunch of, the rest of them are kind of more mindset focused. But on the hiring side, he recommended a question that I've never even asked people before. And it was like, tell me about a win that you've had recently. And he said that when you ask that question, is how long ago was their big win? And so I think the phrasing was, tell me about a big win you had recently, right? And so he's like, if someone can recall a big win in the last 30, 60, 90 days, it's a good sign. But if you ask them for a big win and they're like, yeah, when I was in college, we won a national championship, and they're like 40 years old, that's not a good sign. That means they're not winning on a consistent basis, right? And so I was like, that's a really good question. I never even thought about that. But he shared a bunch of other good questions too. But that's the one that stuck out to me is ask them about a big win and see how long ago that big win was. Because you want to hire a winner who's winning at their current company, who's going to bring that winning to your company, right? You don't want to hire someone who might have won 10 years ago and now they're lazy, for example. So
Well, also mindset, just winning mindset, because it could be a
yeah,
win they share from their personal life, but if it was 30 days ago,
yeah,
then they
yeah.
have a winning mindset too.
Exactly, because you want someone who's looking for those wins on a daily, weekly basis, who's
Yeah,
like, oh yeah, I just had this happen last week. I helped this seller out, for example, and we got a deal closed with this person, whatever it might be. But I thought that was really interesting. So yeah.
that's great. Yeah, I'm just making a note for the
Yeah.
awesome.
But what about you?
I don't that reminded me of the well, Matt Larson has a similar question, but it's different. He asks about something that you're really proud of and what it took to get you there.
Mhm.
Like he uses an example of his assistant who's his like right hand person, but what are you proud of and what qualities did it take to get you there? And you learn a lot about that person. Um, but then yeah, and it also made me think of the 10x 2x stuff, which I've been revisiting with Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy. I've just been listening to some of the content around that again because I wanted to shift my mindset. Because when our business has been in a low point, it's easy to think about like getting a few $1,000s to cover the bills, and it's like,
Right.
no, I need to blow up my mindset and be thinking about how are we getting to the bigger goal, not like how do we get through the month, right, or the
Yeah.
week, whatever. So the 10x 2x stuff is great for that. Just like and I don't even know if I can break it down right here, but I would recommend listening to just go up on YouTube and Dan Sullivan or Benjamin Hardy. 10x is easier than 2x, and it's just about expanding your mindset and thinking bigger, and that it's actually easier than trying to granular think like how to double, because I think one of the principles of it is when you're trying to just double what you've done before, then you're looking backwards, right? And so if I'm going, well, last year I did this, so if I could just make 10 or 20% more, if I did this plus this, then I'd get there,
Yeah.
but it involves you looking backwards and looking back. But if you're thinking about how do I go 10x, then you're thinking forward and about expanding and building uh, a structure or a framework, or what you really need to clean out that's not working, or what you need to add to get you to that next level. And I think that's the main, like, future focus versus past focus,
Mhm.
and blowing up with your mindset. So anyway, I was listening to that stuff this week, and one of the pieces also that touches on what you're saying, Jasper, is the mindset piece of gains, because that's one of the things in strategic coach that Dan Sullivan really emphasizes is counting your gains. And so I bought myself recently, see if I can find it. I don't know if I can find my little notebook, get a nice shot of my belly, but I bought myself some little notebooks that I've just been writing my gains in every night before bed, and just like whatever feels like a gain or a win. And it creates a mindset and a habit of just focusing on gains and wins, which I think I'm pretty good at in general. But when my business was like, felt like it was tanking, I was just like, well, I need to refocus my mind again. So just focusing on the gains and everything, personal, business, and any little thing. And then they start to multiply. And then some days you get where you can't stop writing because it just rolls.
Yeah.
So I recommend that as a tool. Sometimes it's hard to think of gains, but then you just need to keep digging to find them. And then, it becomes a habit that builds a mindset. So I recommend that.
Definitely. Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, a lot of Gary Vee, as I said to you offline, Jasper. I think he's got his finger on the pulse of what's going on with social media and networking and stuff. And so the future of AI and social media, etc.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm looking out. My dog is in the way of my mom's car as she's trying to pull out. But yeah, I guess that's about a wrap here. You got anything else before we close it out, Jasper?
No, no, I think that's a good place to wrap. I appreciate Denzel for tuning in today and anyone else who tuned in live. If you guys want to tune in next time, it'll be 12 o'clock Eastern, and we usually go live for about an hour. So just come on, drop your questions anytime. And if you're listening to this back on the replay, just drop your questions in the comments. And actually, you want to check, do we have any past comments we could get to real quick?
Oh shoot, I didn't check this week. Let me see if we got anything. It'll take me
Yeah,
just a
maybe
second.
maybe not. But if you guys are listening to this back on the replay, feel free to drop your comments in this episode or any past episodes, and we'll be happy to get to those on our next one. So if we have any, we'll get to them right now.
Let's see. Sorry, I've got some alert popping up from Google trying to teach me how to use Google. I mean, YouTube.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't think we have anything new in here now that I'm looking.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll just wrap it here. We'll look again next week. But
Sounds good. Well, have a great week, everyone. Thanks for watching and tuning in.
yeah.